Hello, my name is William Novicki, and I'm a Parks and Recreation Management student in Northern Arizona University. And I'm here today to talk about camping impacts. So we ask ourselves, what are the impacts on lands resulting from camping? So the things we're going to go through here today is what is camping? What is the definition of camping? We're also going to talk about what impacts are defined as. So we want to know, what are these impacts that we have? We're also going to look at a couple case studies, and then we're going to talk at the end about what you can do to be less impactful on our lands. So the definition of camping. What we do is we view camping as an outdoor activity involving overnight stays away from home in a shelter, such as a tent or recreational vehicle. And I'm sure most of us have done that before in the past. So we'll go through a little bit of camping history. Camping's been around as long as there have been people, right? We got to think back, we didn't always live in houses. Camping was a way of life. Now we all live in houses and we use camping as a recreational pastime. So official camp sites date back to 1861 when some of the first campgrounds opened up. In 1861, Gunnery Camp was founded in Washington. It was a boys' camp that would take boys on a 2-week long hiking trips, fishing trips, and they would do different cooking. Your typical like Indiana Jones type camping when we think of that kind of camping, the old school, real rugged type camping stuff. Next, we're going to go through the different types of camping. So we have two different types of camping. The first one's going to be developed camping. So this is your typical Yogi Bear camp style. We've all done this as kids with our families, things like that. So these are designated camp areas. So like in the picture here, you can see all the different camp areas, picnic tables, RVs, tents. There's lots of congestion, lots of people in one area. Usually these campgrounds have organized programs. So they have kids activities, they have maybe some bands that come out on certain weekends. We think of these as RV parks, those kind of areas. Full amenities, so we have sewer, water, electric, everything to have the comforts of home, but not at home. And few trees as well, because of that congestion. We're not seeing as many trees and shrubbery. It's kind of usually open and bare. The second type is backcountry camping. So that's more of your off-trail hiking in the woods type, as you can kind of see in the picture here. That's the carry what you need, or carry everything on your back and only take what you need. And there's no amenities to that. So we don't have electric, we don't have water from a spigot, and we don't have a bathroom nearby as well. So some of the impacts on developed campsites. So again, these are your Yogi Bear camps, our vehicles, right? Developed campsites are anywhere that vehicles can be accessible. So vehicles, they can leak fluids, they can compact soil, they can create ruts, all those things. Concentrated people, again, there's so many people in one area. That's not a good thing to have all those people trampling the ground, creating all those issues. Amenities, we're disturbing the ground, putting in the electric, putting in all the water lines, we're uprooting all those areas. Walking trails are another thing. So we have a lot of people in one area that are walking the same trails over and over and over again, compacting soil and killing off plant life. Have you wear due to equipment? So you see a lot of people when they go to these developed campsites, they bring everything with them. They bring their families, their kitchens, their tents, their rugs, and it kills off all the shrubbery and all the vegetation and everything that's growing in that area. Erosion, again, when we have those big things down, those tents that are killing off all that vegetation, that creates bare spots. When it rains, then all that bare spot area is going to wash away and create an erosion problem. Typically, these areas are used as base camps, so people will camp there for days on end at night, and they will go out during the day on their adventures and then come back. So they're reusing these same sites over and over and over again, day after day. And of course, trash and pollution. We have a lot of people together, we create a lot of trash. Impacts of backcountry camping. So here, again, trail compaction. People are hiking the same trails over and over and over again. Overpicking firewood, this is a big one. So when you have a campsite that's used over again, you start picking all the firewood around. Everyone wants to have their recreational fires. The wood has to come from somewhere. We can't carry it in, so we're gonna pick it off the trail. and that creates, there's only so much dead wood that can go around. Killing off future trees. So when we deplete all that dead wood, what are we going to burn? Now we have to cut down some trees. Well, of course, we're not going to cut down a 54-inch tree. We're going to cut down a little sapling. Well, what does that do? Those future trees are no longer going to grow. We're going to have a depletion in all of our future growth trees. Ground compaction. Again, that is walking over things, putting your tent on the ground over and over in the same spot. That's creating bare spots and compacting the soil. Soil erosion comes from that. So again, bare spots, it rains, washes all that soil away. And again, trash and pollution, as we always seem to have that no matter where we go. People bring things they don't need. People bring things that are more disposable, that now they realize they have no place to dispose it, so they end up throwing it on the trail, burning it, or what have you. Moving nature. This one is interesting. So you got to think along the lines of you're picking up shells, you're picking up rocks, you're taking those things home. Everyone wants a souvenir, but people don't think that those are part of nature and that they're supposed to be used by nature. So when you take a shell, you're taking the future home of a crab. When you move a rock, now you're moving the future home of a squirrel or something that would inhabit that area. Mega campsites are something that's kind of unique. They're typically in backcountry camping areas, and what they are is when more than one site kind of merges together, and that's usually caused by two groups walking back and forth. Again, we're walking through the vegetation, we're compacting all that, we're putting our tents over new areas, we're creating these base camps. So again, a base camp, people are staying there for multiple days at night, and then during the day they're doing their ventures and keep coming back. This creates dirt patches when we're putting all the tents and things on top of that, and again, gives us erosion. And then we have a high sapling mortality rate. So again, people are looking for that firewood. So what are they doing? They're cutting down those saplings and their small trees. So now we're going to go through a couple case studies here. So the first one is Eagle Cap Wilderness Area. Oops. Eagle Cap Wilderness Area is located in Oregon. This area is an overpopulated area. So again, it's good to have people that want to get outdoors. That's the new thing, right? Get outdoors, go on adventures. But unfortunately, when everyone does it at the same time, it can be very impactful to our natural areas. So the study shows here that 25 to 50 nights are camped per site per year. So that's quite a few if you think about the seasons of when camping is open and when it's not. 27% of the trees in those areas had scars. Those scars come from things like hatchets and saws, damage to our trees, not necessarily killing them, but creating scars and damage. 33% of trees within those campsites were cut down. So that's a pretty big number. Again, if you're thinking, 33% is a chunk. Clear cutting. That's when people, again, are going through, they're cutting down these saplings, they're cutting down bigger trees for firewood. All that. Exposed roots caused by erosion. The ground again is killed off the vegetation. It's now rained. The water's washed away, exposing the roots to damaging the tree. And of course, these are the starts of these mega sites. The next is Annapolis Rocks. Okay, Annapolis Rocks is located on the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail is about 2,200 miles long, and it's from the lower U.S. to upper Maine. In 1999, the Appalachian Trail Management Community deemed the Annapolis Rocks the most degraded campsite around. That's a pretty bad thing for us here. There's 19 campsites that they investigated during their research, and about 2,271 square feet for each. That's a pretty big area. If you think about a campsite, 2,271 square feet. That's a very big campsite. 30 had damaged trees. 30 damaged trees out of the 19 sites. So you got to think that that's at least one tree per campsite. 137 stumps among the 19 sites. So again, multiple sites, multiple trees getting cut down. 43,099 square feet of trampled vegetation. That is a huge amount of area. And again, that's what the start of all of our erosion and our bare roots This is what causes that, is all that trampled vegetation. The good news though, here's some good news. So with Annapolis Rocks, researchers and naturalists took on the task of restoring the area. So they've actually are getting out there, replanting, trying to fix these campsites and make it better for everybody here. So the new campsites they're making are from the hillsides, and they use the natural topography to create self-contained platforms. So using what Mother Nature is giving us so that we're not trampling all that vegetation and creating these bare spots and creating more erosion. By doing this, the researchers and naturalists were able to reduce the footprint from 43,099 square feet to just 8,574 square feet. That is a huge difference and is really good for Annapolis Rocks. So what can we do here to help prevent this damage and help be less impactful to our camp areas and our natural areas? We can stagger our campsites. So when we put our tents out and when we're trying to camp in these areas, don't put it over the same area where someone else did. If you see an area that's trampled down, don't put your tent on top of that. Pick a new area. And you might think, well, why would I pick a new area to ruin? Well, the old area that was trampled will come back. It's just going to take some time. The more and more times we put our tents on the same area, the longer and longer it's going to take for that to regenerate and come back. No fires. So recreational fires out on these kind of campsites, no good. You want to have a fire in your backyard and at home, that's great. But when you're out in these natural trails and you're walking around, no fires unless it's an absolute emergency. That helps cut down on using the dead wood and using saplings to burn. Bio-friendly products, pretty self-explanatory. When we're using these things, we're washing ourselves up in the river, we're washing our hands, those kind of things. We don't really realize, but when we go into the rivers, we do those things, there's products on us that are very toxic to those areas. Sunscreen, hand sanitizers, those kind of things. So we want to always make sure we have bio-friendly products that we use. Take nothing. So again, this goes back to those homes of the snail and the squirrel. So we don't want to take anything that's out there. Again, it's fun to have souvenirs, but at the same time, we got to think, what if someone came into our house and decided they were going to take souvenirs? You know, it's not really the right way to do it. So we got to kind of think that way and make sure those homes stay for that wildlife. Clean your gear. So we don't want to have any cross pollution with anything. So if there's different diseases in certain forests and then it gets on our gear and then we bring it into other woods or other areas, and we can be very detrimental to those areas. And then again, take only what you need on trips. So don't take excessive amount of stuff. Sometimes we take too much, we forget that we have all that. We have to leave things on trails. We don't ever want to leave any trash or anything out of the trails because it'll sit there for years upon years upon years and will not break down. This here is actually a picture of myself. My wife and I took a trip out to Wind Cave National Park, and I just want to point out this was a trip that we went on, and it was a beautiful area. And the campsite we had was really nice, and I think when we went on this trip, we tried to keep as much impact down as we could. So again, time to wrap up this presentation. You know, what would you do to make America beautiful and stop polluting and stop having negative impact on our campsites? All these things we talked about today are a great way to stop that impact and help our natural areas and rebuild our campsites. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.